Hey, this is the national treasure, Nick Aldis, and you're listening to the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. We are your host. He is a Stallion. I'm the Enforcer, and this week we are joined by member of the Righteous, member of Ring of Honor, Vita VonStarr. Thank you so much for joining the show today. We really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show.
Of course. Member of the Righteous. That doesn't sit well with me. We'll get to that, of course. This is Vincent. I don't know why everybody loves Vincent. He's probably a murderer, but that's fine. We can get to that later. Before anything, we're like a day away from 2021. How has this last wild year been treating you?
It's been terrible. Just so bad, it's been terrible for so many people, but, I'm a gig worker. I perform for a living outside of pro wrestling, and, I lost pretty much 80% of my income. I lost all my work, and I've just been struggling to get by, hard to be motivated a lot of the time. It's a real loss, not having shows, not being able to practice your craft freely, not being able to see your communities, and no matter what walk of life you are or how old you are, anything, everyone's been affected in some way to some degree, and just seeing the amount of human misery is really hard. A lot of my friends and people that I'm close to are performers and gig workers too. So just kind of having to almost scramble to figure out how to make things work is tough and demoralizing. But there's been some positive things too. So I try to look on the bright side. So I still have been able to train a little bit, and it's weird, if there's a COVID scare and then you just can't go to training for a week or whatever, or until you get tested or something, something is always going on like that. But I have been able to train not as frequently as I normally would be, but I'm grateful. And, having Ring of Honor starting up a little bit, even on a limited basis, I'm very grateful for. The limited human interactions that I do have, I'm grateful for. So,
Now, you're from the tri-state area, right?
Yep, I'm in Philadelphia.
Okay, so recently on the show, we've had Shane Taylor, who's in Houston, Texas, and we've had Kellyanne, who's in literally across the world. So it's very interesting to see how different parts of the world are dealing with what's going on. Being from Pennsylvania, it's super duper lockdown mode right now, right? They're very strict.
Yeah, no gyms, pretty much no restaurants, a little bit of outside dining, the weather is tolerable, but it's we're pretty much in lockdown, and there's a lot of businesses going out of business, and that's hard to see. Philly has had turmoil all throughout the summer with George Floyd and everything going on, and just everything. So there's been a lot of places boarded up or burned out, or fires and explosions and everything. So seeing so many businesses go under is really horrible. It's every day I see a new one that oh well.
I'm sure I'm gonna miss that place. It's kind of like the perfect storm this year, and everybody's talked about how crazy it was. But to see when we were speaking to Shane Taylor, he's yeah, in Texas it's business as usual, and he could do whatever he wants, and he can go anywhere. And he's it's kind of wild. And Joe and I were on Long Island, so we're also in a pretty severe lockdown. Gyms are allowed open at minimum capacity and things like that. And Kellyanne was saying how she couldn't leave her house. Literally, they weren't letting her out of the house for 7 or 8 months. And she's kind of going a little crazy. I'm yeah, I would. That's even going to the grocery store would be that's the only thing you were allowed to do is go to the grocery store.
That's crazy.
So who knows what 2021 is going to be like. But focusing on the positive, like you said, we have to. Did you pick anything up this year where like you were super bored and you're like, oh, I'm gonna start doing this? People are like, I want to read more. I want to do this. Is there anything that you kind of focused on?
It was hard, honestly, to like, normally I would do like a lot of art projects and stuff, but it was hard finding creativity in the right mind space for it was really hard. The one thing that I did do that was productive was obsessively work out. And I learned a lot about anatomy and biomechanics because I'm a big nerd like that. So I've just like obsessively done research on the human body throughout this time. And that like the first 3 months of lockdown, where no one really knew what was going on yet, and it's just like
everything was a mystery. It was like 20 years later. It's like, oh, who knows what's gonna happen? Am I gonna go outside and turn into a dinosaur? I don't know, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah, just board yourself up in your house and.
Yep, and when the dead start rising, that's when it's time to really start locking things up. We never knew. You're a trainer too, right?
Yes, I'm a circus coach. So when I'm not on tour, I just teach private lessons, and I have a bunch of students that I work with. I teach group classes. I'm doing a couple of virtual classes right now, and I have been able to hang on to my studio so far. I've been able to save it, and hopefully we'll still be able to. So I've had my circus gym to go to during this time, so that's been good. And again, just another thing to be grateful for. I teach. I do personal training. I help people get strong and flexible. And so if anybody wants to book a private lesson with Vita VonStarr, if you want to get buff as shit, or maybe open your hips and get more flexible and find some range of motion, I can help with all that.
I'm gonna make sure #buff as shit is trending. Like that is definitely a selling point. You have such a cool story about how what you do in the real world, as the people call it. But did you grow up a professional wrestling fan, or was that something you fell into later on in life?
Yeah, no, I didn't. It was always around as like a pop culture kind of thing, but nobody directly around me growing up was like super into it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I grew up skateboarding and snowboarding, so I was very much in that culture, which did prepare me for taking a lot of bumps later on in life. But yeah, I really didn't become a wrestling fan till I was an adult and I was training it. And I'm a huge fan. Yeah, I watch it all the time and go back and look at all the old stuff. But starting out, I didn't know anything at all, really. But I am in love with it now. As a performing art, as a craft, as an athletic discipline. I'm definitely a huge fan now, for sure.
Yeah, and taking bumps in the ring is, it's better than on the concrete when you're skating and things like that. I skated forever, and then I tried to pick up a skateboard again like 2 weeks ago, and wow, things definitely change as you get a little bit older. And I was like, I could do this, and spoiler, I couldn't. So that's been my focus now. If we do go into like lockdown version 3.0, all I'm going to do is skate and see if I still have it. But that's definitely a way to prepare your body for bumping. But so when did you find the circus? Because this is just the coolest thing. I love this story.
Yeah, I discovered Circus about 10 or 12 years ago as a student, and I did gymnastics as a kid. That was my first love of movement, so I always loved flipping around and being upside down. I loved climbing on stuff and hanging like a monkey. So when I started taking classes, I just got hooked right away. And like coaching was always my day job. With like skateboarding and snowboarding, I was a coach for years and years doing that. And then, so as I just kind of got hooked into the whole circus thing, started coaching, started performing and booking gigs. And it's been great. I've just learned so much about the body from doing it. And it translates into wrestling a lot. Just, proper alignment and, just having understanding of body control and core control and, just really, a lot of times people don't really think about their fingers or their toes when they're training. But it really uses the whole entire body. So it's been a challenge and good cross training for everything else that I've ever done. So.
Yeah, and also, if you're doing things like that, it teaches yourself accountability too, right? Like how to take care of injuries, how to keep yourself in shape, how to keep yourself motivated, and really how to perform, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah, which is not something I did when I was younger. I did not take care of injuries or heal properly, and I made a
Nobody
lot
did.
more.
No.
I know. Yeah.
It's like, oh, that thing will heal itself.
Yeah, like my leg's falling off, but I can still totally like go out and train for 3 or 4 hours like normal. Yeah, that was a great idea.
Yep.
I definitely made a lot of things worse for myself than it needed to be, but now I have a lot more knowledge, and recovery is a part of training. It's an important part of retraining, and you have to be smart about it. And it's totally possible to train around injuries sometimes. A lot of the times, you just avoid doing certain things, but you can still be active and like work on other parts of the body. So yeah, I've learned a lot about that over the last few years.
And as a trainer, it's important to instill in your trainees that an injury or something like that isn't an excuse too. Like you said, it's a good way to train around it. Just because your legs are hurt doesn't mean you can't do X, Y, and Z. And that's seems like you definitely have that trainer mindset where it's almost like take no shit, but I understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right in between. So now, how did you get? You're still so you were still working in the circus last year, or up until all this happened, right?
Yep, up until the final lockdown.
Where's this? Is it a traveling or is it a stationary?
I do both. I travel a lot. I have a couple tours that I go out with regularly. I do a tattoo convention that tours the U.S. and they're my fam that I can kind of go in and out as I need to with them, which is really nice to have that flexibility. So if I have Ring of Honor or like some other booking, I can do that and then go back out when I need to. I do a fair amount of, if I'm in town, I'll book some local stuff, and we do a lot of corporate gigs. I love theatrical stuff. The stuff that's the most rewarding to me is where you really have the leeway to be creative with your music choices and your costuming and choreography and stuff like that, which isn't always the case. And those are not usually the best paying gigs, but artistically and creatively the most rewarding.
That's such a parallel to like the world of professional wrestling, because the biggest the biggest knock on the WWE, while it's going to pay you the most money, you don't have as much creative freedom. You don't get to use that as like an outlet.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of the same as what you're saying. Like you want to be able to, because I feel like people are more motivated once they can get into what they're doing, right? Instead of being told exactly what to do, it's like, we want you to go out and do your thing and make the most fun out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny how that works out. But yeah, it's a give and take, and I definitely have like corporate gigs that they're like, oh, we need it to look this way, and do this music and whatever. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. It's like a paycheck, but still better than a desk job. I'd still rather be doing something that's like that than sitting at a desk or something. Yeah, no, I've been lucky to have some really cool performing experiences. I've performed hanging off of a bridge like 65 feet high before. I've performed in black light, and I've performed in cemeteries. So I've had some cool experiences from it.
Did you wrestle in a cemetery too? Is that against Holodead, or was that just set up to look like
a cemetery? That was not a cemetery, actually. That was
okay. It honestly looked, dead on like a cemetery. So kudos to whoever put that show on. That would be a crazy place to wrestle. That'd be awesome.
It's probably possible. I'm sure there's. Yeah,
I'm sure they've done it in Japan. I mean, I've seen like exploding barbed wire Shark Tank matches inside of a cave in Japan. I'm sure it's been done there and nobody knows about it yet. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
How do you get from the circus to the worldwide dojo? Where does that transition happen?
I started out training at Chikara. I was at Chikara for 3 years, and then just wasn't really going anywhere, and I knew I needed to make a change, and so there's a few schools around the Philly area, but I was always a Ring of Honor fan, and that was kind of always like a goal I did have, and I was like, oh, I need to transition to a different school here, try the Worldwide Dojo, and just instantly felt at home. I love Cheeseburger to death. He is the best. I love Sumi. It's not toxic at all. It's just always good vibes. It's super chill. Everybody there wants to be there and is like trying to be their best. Everybody wants to see everybody else in class succeed and be their best. There's no like shit talking or backbiting or anything like that. And that's when I really learned how to actually wrestle and put matches together, and the
like a
deeper levels of psychology in matches and stuff like that. And I'm grateful. The Worldwide Dojo has definitely been my wrestling home, and it's awesome. I can't really say enough good things about Cheeseburger and the way he runs things.
Are there two nicer people in pro wrestling than Sumi and Cheeseburger? No, right?
I adore them. Like, seriously, I love them so much.
I have not. Everybody just loves those two, and like it's so the opposite of what most pro wrestling gyms are like, where they're beating you over. Look, I don't want to say all. I don't want to typecast them, but like a lot of the ones are beating you over the head and dudes till you puke and all this stuff. Yes. And I feel Cheeseburger and Sumi are like the most uplifting people.
They are.
Like, you're doing a great job, and sometimes it's nice to hear that.
Yeah. And like they just, Cheeseburger runs so many classes. I don't even know how he does it, to be honest, but he never complains or like seems grumpy or even tired or like anything. I don't know how he does it. But it's just always a positive experience, and I love being there.
God, I love the burger. God bless him.
If you can't get along with Cheeseburger, that's a you problem.
Right, that's the you problem. That's not the somebody else problem. There's nobody that doesn't like him. So,
seriously,
how long were you training there before you came into Ring of Honor?
About a year. Yeah, it was about a year, and Final Battle Fallout last year, which was the Philly show after Vinny broke Taven's leg, and that was when they brought me in.
Yeah, I guess we could talk about him now. So Bateman, Chuckles, Vincent, how does that? Is it because of your background in the circus that everything kind of just it almost is like the perfect fit, right? With Chuckles, and it's how do they come? Like, how do they approach you with that? And I'm sure it's something you love right away, right?
Oh my God, I was so into it. I'm a huge fan of the Devil's Rejects and Rob Zombie and all of his stuff, and I couldn't have asked for a better situation, honestly. I think they did like me. I guess there were a few other candidates.
You want me to move something?
I had trained a bunch of times with Delirious prior, and so he had recommended me to Vinny, and I do some weird spots and do like weird stuff in the ring. It's not really like pro wrestling per se, but I think they liked that I was a little bit weird, and I didn't even know that was going to happen until like the night of that show, like a couple hours before the show. And then Vinny came up to me and was like, "Yeah, we're doing this thing. Are you into it?" And I was like, "Yes, 100%."
Yeah, it's like the Devil's Rejects meets The Hills Have Eyes meets like Wrong Turn, like all those just awesome horror movies. And Vinny, while he is the devil in my mind, as he miseried Taven. His character is so it's so interesting, and like I hate him for who he is, but I mean he gets in that character and you're like, oh yeah, no, that dude's like, he's like the walking devil. Like there's nobody in that group in the Righteous that you're like, oh, they're that's like who they are. Like I picture you guys all just going out to a dive bar and Chuckle's probably eating somebody alive.
Right.
Like that's what I picture. So that's kudos to Ring of Honor and you guys all for really, just coming together as a fantastic group. Now it's unfortunate for you because you were there for like, on main stage for like what, 2 months or 2.5 months, and they're like, oh, by the way, pandemic. So you are the manager. I can for right now at least. How tough is it for a manager at ringside to not have a crowd to play off of? I feel like that is such a huge part of being a manager.
It is, and it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've only really done Final Battle's really the only show that we've done that I was ringside and like involved in that way. I had been to a couple of the tapings before we did Final Battle, and it's weird. Just wrestling in silence is weird, and even I always like to watch as much of the show as I can when I'm there. And, as a fan, I'm like getting excited. I want to make noise backstage, and it's weird just like having that silence. But the plus side to it is that you can kind of focus a little more on like this space and like what's happening in the ring, or focusing more on specific camera angles and stuff like that. So it's a give and take, but I mean, I love live shows, and that is a huge part of wrestling, and it sucks. And, again, I'm grateful. Like, I'm just so grateful that we're doing anything at all and that I am involved in anything at all. But it sucks, and I really miss having a crowd.
Yeah, and for somebody who's so into performing arts, like you're performing for nobody right now, so it's tough to gauge, and especially in the ring, like not trying to go back behind the curtain, but what works in front of the crowd, you feed off of the crowd, and without having that crowd to feed off of, you're like, boy, I hope they're liking this at home,
Yeah.
So it's got to be very difficult. But kudos to Ring of Honor for everything they've done. When we were talking to previous guests, because it seems like I've had Ring of Honor people on for like the last 2 months, and we're so grateful for that. But like Ring of Honor has really amped up their social media, and also their weekly show. It's like it's almost like a Friday Night Fights, where it's like 2 matches, but there's so much more backstory, and you get to know the characters and you get to know the talent. So it's really nice to give, because how much can you really tape? Who knows how long it's going to last? I'm sure they tape for, tape for a couple of days and then it's off. Is that how it works?
Yeah, we usually do about 4 days, and then 2 of those days will be matches. 2 of those days will be interviews and pre-tape promo kind of stuff.
So yeah, I mean, you want to get the matches in, but now I feel like there's you get to know the talent a little bit better, and maybe people that weren't getting that chance to speak, they have a lot more promo time. So I think the format for Ring of Honor TV right now is just fantastic, and it's such an easy watch. The hour flies by. Has there been any talk about Women of Honor returning? Or I know they were doing the tournament that was supposed to be at my memory, Battlestar.
That was back in April.
That we had tickets for. That's thanks a lot, COVID. I know they were doing the Quest for Gold, I think, was a tournament. So is there talk about the Women of Honor division coming back?
Here and there. Again, it's really hard with the tapings because everything about like coordinating the bubble and everything is tricky, and there has been talks of doing another women's tournament. I don't know where that is standing right now. I know that it was something that has been discussed semi-recently. A lot of our female talent is from the UK, so it's hard to, sucks because, we're really limited as far as like traveling and being able to bring people over. So unfortunately, I don't have too much more beyond that, but I'm hoping, like, as a fan as well as a wrestler, that something will get kickstarted with that again pretty soon.
So we can expect when Women of Honor returns, you will be an active member on the Women of Honor roster, correct?
For sure, yeah.
Okay, awesome. That's very good news. What is it like? We talk about the bubble and how well Ring of Honor does. What's it like in the bubble? It's very, it's a very interesting situation with all the things. What's your experience been like there?
It is weird.
Shane Taylor said it was kind of like being in prison with Wi-Fi.
A little bit, yeah. It's kind of like that. The Wi-Fi hasn't been good though.
That's what he said. He's like, people complain about that.
I was definitely going stir crazy, especially, because once we're checked in, we're basically quarantining for 2 days before we start anything. So we have time for the test results to come in and stuff. And they don't want us going out for food or like hanging out with each other or anything. So I'll
you check in 2 days, you can't do anything. And then you can't even work.
Pretty much. So yeah, I'll like listen for like voices in the hallway. Like, can we just like stick our heads out and like hang out and like
hey,
people. I just work out pretty much the majority of the time. I'll do a bunch of yoga. I'll take time for self-care, like meditating and stuff like that.
Take any of those frozen meals, or you want me to bring some on Sunday?
It's sometimes like hard to fit kind of self-care into your routine, so I just kind of take advantage of it in that way. And
did you want any of those frozen meals?
When it's nice out, that's when it's hard. I'm like looking out the window and it's like bright and sunny. I'm like, God damn it!
You can take the spaghetti meatball.
Nice to be out there,
Yeah.
So the 2 days, and then you said you have the 4 days of taping. So once everybody's, the test results come back and everybody's cool, then you could, intermingle amongst each other?
Yeah, I mean, the Maryland Athletic Commission is really strict, and they're constantly on our ass about everything. So even when it's like, okay, we just tested, no one's been anywhere, like there's no possible way that anyone could have COVID, they still... Unless it's like we're directly in a match or something, like they still don't want us being more than 6 feet apart or being less than 6 feet apart and all that stuff. Everyone's still like masked the entire time.
What the reality
I mean, I have like a face full of makeup and have to wear the mask up until like the moment that we go out, and I'm like, okay, hopefully the shit's not smeared, and like
So you could have the match with each other, wear the mask up and. That is so insane to me. Like how, I also find it crazy that the athletic commissions govern professional wrestling still, especially like in Maryland. Like
Maryland's really bad. They're really bad about it. It is like insane bureaucracy.
Wow. Just everybody gets a chunk, right? Everybody makes some money with it. So
not often.
All right. So you have the match. You throw the mask on, you get to the back, and then what do they ship you out the next day, and then you have to quarantine when you get home?
Basically, yeah, we do. After everyone's done, like the last day before everyone goes home, we get tested again just to make sure that the bubble worked, and then.
How much do these tests cost? This can't be cheap, right? I'm like,
they're spending a fortune on testing. Like
this is Ring of Honor that's spending the money, right?
Will do.
Yeah, thank you.
They're spending a fortune on testing, like.
Can everybody who's listening to this please just watch Ring of Honor television? Like, look at what the talent and everybody is doing for even my dog is barking. Hunter agrees. Like, it's so crazy that, like, let's be honest, Ring of Honor is not a WWE or an AEW that own a fucking stadium that they could just, have people in. Like, this is, the company right now that is putting all this money into their product. And listen, Ring of Honor could be running best dubs from here until the pandemic is over. They could, all that stuff, but they're not. They're telling storylines. They're having pay-per-views. Just for the love of God, watch Ring of Honor. I'm getting mad. Mad.
Please. Ring of Honor is really good right now, and they really are. The way that they ramped up the production and put in all the LED screens and the barriers, like everything about the production is beautiful. And everybody there is really trying their best to put out the best possible product for the fans. And that's one of the many reasons I enjoy working for Ring of Honor, is because everybody is just, of the utmost professionalism, and everybody wants to put on the best show possible, and everybody's there to work together and, make that happen for the fans. So.
Yeah, and I don't want anybody to get misconstrued. I'm not here strictly literally just to kiss Ring of Honor's ass, but everybody that comes on our show says Ring of Honor is the healthiest locker room they've ever been a part of. And when people leave Ring of Honor to go to WWE or TNA or AEW, whatever, nobody ever has a bad word to say about Ring of Honor. And I think that's such a testament to the company that continuously keeps losing their top stars and is able to build stars right behind them. So you're never missing that, that main event level talent. And, the roster right now, it's so strong, and you don't even have a lot of the people, like we mentioned, from the UK, Mark Haskins, Slex, Joe Hendry, things like that, people that can't even travel in here. So the roster's only going to get better. The shows are going to, even get better than they are right now. And they've announced the Ring of Honor Experience, which is the Facebook group that it's like, I saw like Beer City Bruiser was on there just going back and forth something on the message board. Like, this is stuff that other companies aren't doing to give you the product that you want. They're asking, who would you like to have in the TV title picture? Like, I forget me if I'm mistaken, but like Ring of Honor seems to be the company that is really catering to the fans more than anything right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. They definitely have the fans in mind, for sure. And
the Experience, are you familiar? Have you are you on, I should say, are you on the Experience
I
yet?
am not in that group, no. But
okay, well, you got to get on the Ring of Honor Experience on the Facebook group. They have a lot of cool polls and stuff like that, and the wrestlers post there. And for Ring of Honor to do that, they're really thinking outside the box during this crazy time. So we hope nothing but the best for Ring of Honor going forward. I have to ask you, you mentioned the Devil's Rejects before. Is it safe to assume you're a horror movie person?
Yes. Definitely.
Okay, so that makes sense why you fit in so well with Vinny. What are yours? Do you like the newer ones? Do you like the campy ones? Where do you stand on horror movies? I'm a big horror movie guy myself.
I do love the campy movies. I love Evil Dead. I love Dead Alive. Still, like, to this day, like, two of my top favorites. I love gore. I'm a big death metal fan, as we discussed earlier. So, I love Cannibal Corpse and, like, their music videos and, like, all that kind of stuff. I love the special effects.
Okay, so Evil Dead, gotcha. Return of the Living Dead, to me, is one of the top 5 horror movies of all time. It's so wildly underrated. Have you watched Ash vs. Evil Dead, the show?
I've seen a few episodes, yeah. I didn't, like... I don't really watch a lot of TV. Well, now I watch more TV. But...
Now we have no choice.
Yeah, I've seen a few episodes, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was enjoyable.
Yeah, I binged it as per COVID. I had nothing else to do. So the next time you're in the bubble, you got nothing to do for 2 days. Ash versus Evil Dead is definitely...
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion.
Yeah, definitely a binge-worthy watch, I should say. So we have hope for 2021 for just going forward, and I'm talking like vaccines and things like that. Hopefully the world opens up smartly and we're able to have professional wrestling shows again, so we could all stay positive and hold on to that little hope we have. I do have to ask you one thing before we let you leave. It is the one thing that divides this podcast directly down the middle. Joe and I have known each other for 25 years, and we fight about it every single day, probably weekly. If you had to choose one and only one wrestler to watch, would it be Bret Hart or would it be Shawn Michaels?
That's a tough one.
So you can see why our friendship is on the line.
That's kind of unfair.
I understand.
I think I got to go with Shawn Michaels.
Well, it's like 150-4 now. I'm part of 4. I'm part of Team Bret Hart. He is part of Team Shawn Michaels, and that's fine. We will be that way until the day that we both die. But it's a tough pill to swallow.
Live with it,
Yeah, I've accepted failure so many different aspects of my life. Bring another one on. I'm totally cool. So where can we follow you on social media, see what's going on? You've got a series of YouTube videos, and you also have this training you're talking about. So where can we follow you? Where can we keep up with that and get #buff as shit?
Yeah, that's what I like to do for my students. So you can follow me on Instagram at Vita VonStarr, VITAVONSTARR. I'm on Twitter as VonStarr, and I do have a YouTube channel that has some workout videos and some tips and stuff like that. And I'll be adding to that a little more frequently. Feel free to hit me up about personal training inquiries, and I can help you build a workout at home that you can work on your own. Always happy to help with whatever issues people are having with that. It's what I do. So hit me up.
And it's about to be January 1st, #New Year's New You, and all the other bullshit that everybody says to themselves. But if you really want to take it seriously this year, you really want to finally get in shape, make sure you guys hit up Vita VonStarr and do some, week training. That the gym being closed is not an excuse. Get in there, put the work in, and reap the results when it comes to bathing suit time, right?
Yeah, good point, actually. You don't need the gym. I do a ton of body weight stuff. I can do lots. I can work with whatever equipment you got going on. I do tons of workouts that involve minimal equipment like bands and dumbbells and just easy stuff like that. And if you don't have anything, I can still work with you. So just let me know what you got. Get something going.
Sure. Get in the shape of your life in 2021 and hang out with Ring of Honor personality and, for some reason, member of the Righteous and Vinny's Cannibal Murderers, Vita VonStarr. Vita, thank you so much for joining the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. We really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course.